Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Skynet will start in 1 minute. Does anybody need to use the repeater? This is N5BB. Now it's time for Skynet. This is N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo. My name is Bill, and I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. I apologize, I was net control on TechNet, so you've got to listen to me again. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and space in general. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime skies, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions. You do not need to be a member of any club to participate. Everybody is welcome. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the # break and your call sign. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control. N5BB. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmission. That allows me to know you're finished talking and keeps the FCC happy. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are possible using W5FC-R or Echolink node 37247. I am looking at Echolink right now, so if you need to say something to net control via Echolink, say it over in the chat, and I will see it, hopefully. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-visual links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, structured into several parts. General announcements. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. National Space Society events. The discussion topic of the evening, selected by the net control station. What's up? What's going on if you look outside at stars? Space exploration and space history. Constellation of the week. Space launches of the week. Recent astronomical discoveries. And if we have any time, visible satellite passages over the next few days. Followed, if we have any time, by astronomical questions and answers at 73. Again, all amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time RF check-ins. We will do Echolink later. So we're looking for low power and short time RF check-ins. If so, please come with your call sign, name, and location. This is N5BB, Skynet.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power 3 watts.
We have W5GUS. Hi, Gus. Are there any other low power or short time check-ins? Okay, let's go to general RF check-ins. Please come now with your name, your call sign, your name, and your location. General RF check-ins for Skynet. This is N5BD. Go ahead.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, J, near Weatherford.
This is November 5, Alpha Juliet Delta, Aaron, Dallas.
This is MT5PH, Pat in Dallas.
This is Alpha Delta 5, Sierra Echo, Chuck, Richardson.
This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
This is 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in North Carrollton.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert in Richardson.
This is November 5 Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
So let's pause there. I recognize KF5JHE, JHA, the popular Chaz. KG5BZU, hello Jay. N5AJD, Aaron. NT5PH, hello Pat. 85SA, hello again Chuck. K5ICX, Tom. James WVL, I apologize. I can't remember the prefix of your call, James.
Kilo Golf 5.
I've got a KG5WBL James, AA5AH Robert, N5OF Clay, and WB5OZL. Howdy, Brenda. Welcome to 2021. Do we have any other RF check-ins for TechNet? This is N5B. Excuse me, Skynet. I'll get it right eventually. Skynet. This is N5BB. Well, that was fast. Let's move over to Echolink. And I see K5JDW. John is in Norman. He just wants me to check him in directly. We've got you, John. And we've got W0MBC. Shane and Bethany in Blue Springs, Missouri. Shane, do you want to say hi? Guess Shane isn't able to transmit right now. That's okay. I've got you checked in. Aaron is also checked on an Echolink and RF. And JJ, inside IMS. I've checked you in, JJ, as listen only. Okay. Do we have any stations that'd like to check in on any mode? This is N5BB. Skynet. Well, that seems to have thinned out the ranks pretty quickly. So, let's get started. Do we have any general announcement for tonight's net? This is anything about amateur radio, astronomy, space, or anything of general interest to licensed hands. If so, please come now with your call sign only. This is N5BB, Skynet. Well, that was fast. One thing I might comment on is the FCC a couple days ago released their decision in the docket concerning the amateur radio fees, and ARRL reported on this, and the news is not as bad as it could be, but it's not good. Instead of $50, the FCC is going to charge $35. So if you apply for a new amateur license, or renew your amateur license, or get a vanity call, or other things like that, you will be charged $35. It'll take a few weeks for the FCC to get this rolling. It'll be at least 30 days. So if you need to do any of those things, it's best to do them right now within the next month or so, or you may have to pay $35. Remember, if you've forgotten, that amateur licenses are good for 10 years. So that's the news that came out. Is there any other announcements or comments about local amateur things or anything else? Please come now. This is N5BB.
Kilo India 5 Kilo Tango Zulu, Philip, Dallas.
We got you, Philip. KI5KTZ. Got you both on Echolink and on RF. So, Bethany is visiting her grandparents tonight, but she says howdy. So Shane is there from Blue Springs, Missouri. Hello, Shane. Okay, there's some other Echolink stations that popped in there. I don't know if you're just listening. Does anyone else on Echolink want to check into the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet? If so, please come now with your call sign only. RF check-ins, so please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick and Dallas.
Let's see, Patrick, are you Kilo Golf 5 APL?
Yes, sir. Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm bad with prefixes. KG5 APL. We gotcha. Okay. Let's move forward now to the next item on the list. The AMSAT group, Amateur Satellite Corporation, has two nets available, well, multiple nets available for Dallas residents. So most Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on this repeater, there's the AMSAT East net. This is on this repeater on the east side of the DFW area, Dallas County, etc., at 8 p.m. on this frequency. Then at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, the AMSAT West net is at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 repeater. So if you want to talk about satellite things for amateur satellites, come here to this frequency on this repeater most Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. or on Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. go to the Arlington 147.14 repeater. This coming Tuesday will be different, though, because it's Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting night. And so the Dallas Amateur Radio Club will be virtually meeting this coming Tuesday, January the 5th. The board meeting starts at 6. The general meeting starts at 7. These two meetings have separate login credentials. You can find them by going to w5fc.org. That's whiskey5foxcharlie.org. Looking at the calendar, going to next Tuesday, January the 5th, and you'll see entries for those two club meetings, the board and the main meeting, and it'll have login information there you can click on to access from your PC. Does anybody have questions about the nets I just mentioned and the club meeting? This is in 5BB. Skynet. Did somebody have a question? Okay. In general, there's some other nets on this repeater. On Monday night at 7 p.m., we have nets every week of the month. Ham fixing nets, emergency communications, ham fixings, geek net, and if there is a fifth week, the surprise net. So listen on Monday nights on this repeater at 7 p.m. So every evening at 6:30 p.m., there is a traffic net on this repeater, set from 6:30 until 7. And then on Monday nights at 7 p.m., there's some other net. On Friday nights at 7:30, there's the CERT simulation net at 7:30 p.m. on this repeater. On Saturday night, then, you have TechNet at 7 p.m. and Skynet at 9 p.m. At 10:30 this evening, we will have the Afterglow, where we talk about a movie. And this time, we are going to talk about, I just closed it. Do you want to tell us about our fantastic movie for this evening? This is Inside BB.
I think you mean me, Bill. This is KE5ICX, and yeah, I'll tell you what it is. Tonight's Afterglow info is NASA hadn't been in operation for nearly 30 years. The year is 2022, by the way. And many of the agency's dumber astronauts went on to other professions. Harding stared out the window of his maintenance vehicle, and off in space, he could see a space shuttle. Yes, the real deal. It looked just like the one on display at NASA, only this one's left turn signal was still blinking. He wondered, what was next? What was next in this strange turn of events? He turned intently. He listened intently as the backup beep got louder and louder and louder. Then came the crunch. Join us for another weirdo movie, and this one definitely qualifies. The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990. You'll be happy to know this is a direct to VHS. I don't even think it made it to DVD. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. But it is available for streaming. Yay. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Yes. It's not the song or the album, The Dark Side of the Moon. And don't get us talking about the fact that the moon does not have a dark side. But anyway, that's what it's called. Also, there is a lunch bunch net on this repeater at noon, Monday through Friday. Do we have any other check-ins or before we move ahead? This is Inside BB. Skynet. This is
Whiskey, Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WC4, MFI, Ted, Dallas, Low Power.
next time for Chaz. Chaz is going to describe the astronomical fact of Dallas event. Go right ahead, Inside BB.
This is Chaz. Bill, did you get the login by Bill?
Login by Bill. I got John calling me Bill over there on Echolink. Oh, KF5ZBL. Yeah, KF5ZBL. Bill, did you check in?
Well, Bill, I tried. So, yes, KF5ZBL, Bill here in Farmers Branch.
Well, I remember hearing you, but for some reason, I did not write you down. I am not sure what distracted me. I've got you. Is there anybody else that I missed? If so, please come down.
WB4 MFI, Ted, Dallas, Low Power.
Yes, maybe somebody doubled with me. WB4 MFI. Ted, I definitely got you earlier. No problem. Did I miss anybody else?
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
And KG5ZMG. Hello, Joe. I see you over on Echolink. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Okay, Chaz, I think we got through all the doubling. Go right ahead with the TAS events. KF5GHA, this is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I think you stomped on a person or two there. So anyway, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Club meeting will be held on January 22nd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. with Stephen Tompkins talking about binoculars. The TAS Club members will receive an email link about a week ahead of time about the meeting, because it'll be on Zoom. I have no idea when TAS will resume face-to-face meetings, nor when it will have public observing stations again, but hopefully sometime in 2021. Check their website, texasastro.org, for the updated information and details. Back to you, Bill, KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB. Now, I'll go with the National Space Society events. You can see the National Space Society of North Texas webpage at nssofnt.org. That's nssofnt.org. We also, just like TAS, are having to have virtual meetings. I am the membership director of the North Texas chapter of National Space Society. Our next virtual meeting will be it'll be in a little over a week on Sunday, January the 10th at 4 p.m. The topic is going to be space in 2021. It'll be a presentation about the planned launches, both manned by NASA, commercial space flight, international missions, and robotic missions, both manned and robotic in 2021. There's a lot of these. The James Webb Space Telescope, New Glenn, Astroscale, lots of other stuff happening. There's a lot of launches going on by all kinds of organizations. It's a very exciting time to be talking about things going up into space. So that meeting will be this Sunday the 10th of January at 4 p.m. If you'd like to get a WebEx invite, you can send that invitation to me. You can send it to space@byram.net. That's SPACE at BYROM, as in Mary.net, or N5BB@ARRL.net will also get me. So that's what's going on with the National Space Society, because we can't have any in-person meetings now because of the pandemic. We also have recorded meetings from our last several meetings with various people, including people from SpaceX, engineers, and NASA engineers. If you have any interest in those, I can let you listen to them. Just send me an email at the previous email address, space@byram.net. Be glad to let you listen to some of our recorded meetings. Presentations. Okay. End of that. Any other check-ins or comments in 5BB Skynet? Okay, now unfortunately you've got to listen to me again, because I'm going to give the topic of the evening, which is going to be the upside of volatile space weather. So, ham radio operators have this love-hate relationship with activity on the sun. If there's too much activity, big flares, it knocks out all HF communication for a few hours. But if the sunspot level is too low, then conditions are also very lousy. So there's a medium that we like when the sunspot level is high, but there's no flares. Astronomers also have a lot of interest in solar flares, and now there's a great interest at trying to look at solar flares on stars other than our sun. So we're talking about space weather, but not just for our sun, but for other stars. So this is some information that originally came. It's going to be published in Nature. It's provided by Northwestern University. Robust stellar flares might not prevent life on exoplanets, but could facilitate its detection. Although violent and unpredictable, stellar flares emitted by a planet's host star do not necessarily prevent life from forming, according to a new Northwestern University study. Emitted by stars, stellar flares are sudden flashes of magnetic imagery. On Earth, the sun's flares sometimes damage satellites and disrupt radio communications. Otherwise in the universe, robust stellar flares also have the ability to deplete and destroy atmospheric gases, such as ozone. Without ozone, harmful levels of ultraviolet radiation can penetrate a planet's atmosphere, diminishing the chances of harboring surface life. By combining three-dimensional atmospheric chemistry and climate modeling with observed flare data from distant stars, a Northwestern University-led team discovered that stellar flares could play an important role in the long-term evolution of a planet's atmosphere and habitability. We compared the atmospheric chemistry of planets experiencing frequent flares with planets experiencing no flares. The long-term atmospheric chemistry is very different, said Northwestern's Howard Chin, the study's first author. Continuous flares actually drive a planet's atmospheric composition into a new chemical equilibrium. We found that stellar flares might not preclude the existence of life, said Daniel Horton, the senior author. In some cases, flaring doesn't erode all of the atmospheric ozone. Surface life might still have a fighting chance. The study will be published, or was published, on December 21st in the journal Nature Astronomy. It's a joint effort among researchers at Northwestern, University of Colorado at Boulder, University of Chicago, MIT, and NASA Nexus for Exoplanet System Science. All stars, including our very own sun, flare or randomly release stored energy. Fortunately for Earthlings, our sun's flares typically have a minimal impact on the planet. Our sun is more of a gentle giant, said Allison Youngblood, an astronomer at University of Colorado and co-author of the study. It's older and not as active as younger and smaller stars. Earth also has a strong magnetic field, which deflects the sun's damaging wind. Unfortunately, most potentially habitable exoplanets aren't as lucky. For planets to potentially harbor life, they must be close enough to a star that their water won't freeze, but not so close that water vaporizes. This is N5BB, net control of Skynet. We studied planets orbiting within the habitable zones of M and K dwarf stars, the most common stars in the universe. Habitable zones around these stars are narrower because the stars are smaller and less powerful than stars like our Sun. On the flip side, M and K dwarf stars are thought to have more frequent flaring activity than our Sun, and their tidally locked planets are unlikely to have magnetic fields, helping deflect their solar wind. Chen and Horton, two of the researchers, previously conducted a study of M dwarf stars systems, long-term climate averages. Flares, however, occur on an hours or days-long time scales. Although these brief time scales can be difficult to simulate, incorporating the effects of flares is important to form a more complete picture of exoplanet atmospheres. The researchers accomplished this by incorporating flare data from NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Satellite Survey, that is TESS, which was launched in 2018. This is N5BB, Dallas Amateur Radio Club, Skynet. Using flares to detect life. If there is life on these M and K dwarf exoplanets, previous work hypothesizes that stellar flares might make it easier to detect. For example, stellar flares can increase the abundance of life-indicating gases such as nitrous oxide, nitrous dioxide, and nitric acid from imperceptible to detectable levels. Space weather events are typically viewed as a detriment to habitability. But our study quantitatively shows that some space weather can actually help us detect signatures of important gases that might signify biological processes. This study involved researchers from a wide range of backgrounds and expertise, including climate scientists, exoplanet scientists, astronomers, theorists, and observers. This project was a result of fantastic collective team effort that Eric T. Wolf, planetary scientist at CU Boulder, and a co-author of the study. Our work highlights the benefits of interdisciplinary efforts when investigating conditions on exosolar planets. I might comment that it's really interesting that we're now talking about all these studies of atmospheres on exoplanets. While it hasn't been that many long years since we discovered the first exoplanet. They were theorized but weren't discovered until just a few years ago. So it's really amazing how astronomy has expanded with all these studies of exoplanets and flares, weather on other stars. Okay, end of topic. This is N5BB. Skynet. Net control. Do we have any other check-ins or comments? Go ahead. Okay, now it's time for Chaz again. Chaz, what's up? N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics and I am the Astrophysics Lab Manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We call this segment of Skynet, What is Up? Oh, that was slide number 1, Slide Master. Slide number 2, the moon was full on December the 29th, so the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. The moon will be at its third quarter on January the 6th. On January the 12th, the moon will be at its new phase, and on January 20th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. Slide number 3, please. On January 2nd, wait, that's today, isn't it? That was this morning. At 7:51 a.m. Central Standard Time, the Earth was at its perihelion. This is the point in the Earth's orbit where the Earth is closest to the Sun. Hey, we just heard about the Sun, the star of our show. Yeah, Bill, you could have introduced it as the star of our show. The Earth being closer to any, the Earth being closer or further away from the Sun does not determine the seasons, but rather the tilt of the Earth's axis of rotation determines the seasons. When the Earth's northern hemisphere is pointed toward the Sun, that is when it is summer. And when the northern hemisphere is pointed away from the Sun, that is when it is winter, and that's what's happening right now. Perihelion and aphelion are actually opposite of what the seasons are in the northern hemisphere for us. Slide number 4, please. On January the 10th, the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury will be in conjunction in the very low southwestern evening sky. You can start looking for them around 6 p.m. And slide number 5. On January the 11th, in the early morning sky looks very low in the southeastern sky to find Venus and the moon in conjunction. It'll be a real thin crescent moon. And Venus is really kind of low. It could be switching into the evening sky in a few months. Slide number 6. On January 13th, the moon joins the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury in the very low southwestern evening sky. And again, start looking around 6 p.m. or so for it. It might be too bright by then, but by 6:15 or so, you should be able to pull out all of them. Slide number 7. On January the 20th, the planets Mars, Uranus, and along with the moon will be in conjunction high in the southern evening sky. If you've never observed Uranus, you will need a pair of binoculars or a telescope, and you can use Mars as a guide to find it. Slide number 8. In January, there is one major meteor shower called the quadrant. It often produces up to 120 meteors per hour. It will peak on the night of the 3rd, the 4th. That's tomorrow night. I always suggest camping at a Texas state park to watch meteors. For details about meteors and meteor showers, visit the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org or the International Meteor Organization at imo.net. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. And once again, I did talk about the Texas Astronomical Society meeting on January the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Stephen Tompkins will talk about binoculars. And club members will receive an email with a link to that. TexasAstro.org for details about information with the club. Slide number 10, please. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information, or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Well, Bill, I had the same response as what you have had earlier. Slide number 11, please. So, as the moon is waning during the beginning of January, consider these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. Until next week, keep on looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHH as back to Bill, our net control, N5BB.
Thank you very much, Chad. This is N5BB, net control of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, Skynet. Anyone can participate. Does anyone want to check in to Skynet? This is N5BB. We got a little chat going on Echolink. It looks like Joe, KG5ZMG, is interested in learning Morse code. And we have a little discussion about that over there. Before we move on, is there anybody that's on the net here besides Joe who has an interest in Morse code? We might start a local Morse code training net. So does anybody have any interest in learning Morse code? If so, please come down with your call sign only. This is N5EB. Okay, moving forward. Looks like space exploration and space history tonight is not Brenda, but it's going to be Tom. Go right ahead, Tom. KE5ICX. This is N5EB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX. Let's get this set up properly. Here we go. In recent news, we have the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn mesmerizes sky gazers, as was mentioned earlier by Chaz. On the final solstice of the year, Saturn and Jupiter united in the sky for a great conjunction. They're hundreds of millions of miles apart in space, but from Earth's perspective, the gas giants were 1/10 of a degree apart. The planets haven't appeared this close to one another in the sky in centuries, exactly 8 centuries, I believe. A mystery signal comes from the direction of Proxima Centauri. Astronomers detected a signal from the direction of the nearest star system to the Sun, according to a report from The Guardian. The unusual radio signals were detected by the Parkes telescope in Australia, which is part of the $100 million Breakthrough Listen project that hunts for signatures of alien technology. And before you get all excited, none of this has been verified, and they have to go back and look. Remember the WOW signal from Arecibo back in the 70s, I think it was. It showed up once, and that was it. Nobody knew what it was, and we never heard from it again. This may be another one of those. NASA will get $23.3 billion for fiscal 2021 this year. Congress released a spending bill on Monday, December 21st, which allotted more than $23 billion to NASA. This monetary amount is $642 million budget larger than what the space agency received in 2020, but it is the $2 billion short of what NASA has requested. The Human Landing System, the Artemis program, received a quarter of its requested funding amount, for example, but other human exploration projects like the Space Launch System's Mega Rocket received requested funding. Now on to space birthdays. We have our space-related birthdays. In 1882, Arthur Eddington is born. Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington was born December 28, 1882, was an English astronomer, physicist, and mathematician. He was also a philosopher of science and popularizer of science. The Eddington limit, the natural limit to the luminosity of stars, and the radiation generated by accretion onto a compact object, is named in his honor. In 1864, on December 31st, don't mind me, Robert Aiken was born. He began a systematic study of double stars, measuring their positions and calculating their orbits around one another. From 1899, in a collaboration with W.A. Hussey, he methodically created a very large catalog of such stars. This ongoing work was published in the Lick Observatory Bulletins. In 1905, Hussey left, and Aitken pressed on with the survey alone, and by 1915, he discovered roughly 3,100 new binary stars, with an additional 1,300 discovered by Hussey. On January 2nd, 1900, Leslie Petier was born. Petier, born January 2nd, 1900, was an American amateur astronomer and discoverer of several comets and novae, including the nova Hercules in 1963. He was once described as the world's greatest non-professional astronomer by Harlow Shapley, and we had a report on him a couple of years ago, which is quite interesting. Also on January 2nd, in 1920, Isaac Asimov was born, the American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. He is known for his works of science fiction and popular science. Asimov was a prolific writer. He wrote or edited more than 500 books. He also wrote an estimated 90,000 letters and postcards. And I don't know, I probably read about 30 or 40 of his books. I thought he was one of the greatest science fiction and science fact writers of all time. This week in space history, in 2004, Cassini makes its first flyby of Iapetus. There we go. Cassini was a collaboration between the United States, NASA, the European Space Agency, and the Italian Space Agency to send a probe to study the Saturnian system, including the planets, its rings, and natural satellites. Cassini's flyby Iapetus, I should have looked that up first, was at 1845 UTC time at an altitude of 122,645 kilometers. The first raw pictures were available the next day. In 1801, Giuseppe Piazza discovers the asteroid Sirius. Are we serious? Of course we are. Sirius was the first asteroid to be discovered by Piazza at Palermo Astronomical Observatory on January 1st, 1801. It was originally considered a planet, but was reclassified as an asteroid in the 1850s after many other objects of similar orbits were discovered. Sirius is the only object in the asteroid belt rounded by its own gravity. In 2019, New Horizons flies by the Kuiper Belt Object 2014 MU-69, or Ultima Thule. With the New Horizons space probes flyby at 5:33 on January 1st, 2019, Arrokoth became the farthest and most primitive object in the solar system visited by a spacecraft. At the time of the New Horizons flyby, the object had been nicknamed Ultima Thule. On January 2nd, 1959, the Luna 1 is the first spacecraft to have left the Earth's gravitational field. Luna 1 was known as Michta, or Dream. E1, number 4, and first lunar rover was the first spacecraft to reach the vicinity of Earth's moon and the first spacecraft to be placed in a heliocentric orbit. Intended as an impactor, Luna 1 was launched as part of the Soviet lunar program in 1959. In 1972, on the same day, Mariner 9 begins mapping Mars. It was launched towards Mars on May 30th from Launch Complex 36B at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Florida, and reached the planet on November 14th of the same year, becoming the first spacecraft to orbit another planet. after the occurrence of dust storms on the planet for several months following its arrival, the orbiter managed to send back clear pictures of the surface beginning on January 2nd, 1972. Mariner 9 successfully returned 7,329 images over the course of its mission, which concluded in October of 1972. On January 3rd, 1962, NASA publicly announces it names the Gemini program. Hold on here. Conducted between projects Mercury and Apollo, Gemini started in 1961 and concluded in 1966. The Gemini spacecraft carried a 2-astronaut crew. 10 Gemini crews and 16 individual astronauts flew low Earth orbit or LEO missions between 1965 and 66. Gemini's objective was the development of space travel techniques to support the Apollo mission to land astronauts on the moon. Also on January 2nd, in 2004, Mars rover Spirit lands on Mars. Spirit was targeted to a site that appears to have been affected by liquid water in the past. The crater Giuseppe, a possible former lake in a giant impact crater. In same date in 2019, Xiang 5 and Yutu 2 rover make their first soft landing on the moon's far side. Xiang 4 is a robotic spacecraft mission, part of the second phase of the Chinese lunar exploration program. China achieved humanity's first soft landing on the far side of the moon on January 3rd, 2019 last year. That's it for my report. Back to you, Bill. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB with Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins or questions?
This is Kilo India 5 Delta Juliet Josh McKinney checking in. No traffic, no collisions. Thank you very much.
This is Kilo Fox 5 Tango Hotel Bravo, Brent. In Oklahoma tonight. Back to net.
Okay, the first station, I believe, was Kilo India 5 Delta Juliet. Did I get that correct? And what was your name and location, please?
Yeah, Raj, Kilo India 5 Delta Juliet. I'm in McKinney, and I had no questions or comments. Just checking in, just saying thanks for having me.
Okay, I still missed your name.
Josh, Juliet Oscar Sierra Hotel, Joshua.
We got it, Josh. KI5DJJ. Very good. And we got Brent, KE5THB. Okay, any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, Net Control. I'm confused by K5JDW. He's talking about Soylent Green and the Afterglow, but that's not the movie for tonight. Anyway, so let's move ahead. Let's see. Let's see, Tom. Scroll. So I believe it's time for the Constellation of the Week. Chaz, KF5JHA. You got any of Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week for tonight, Chaz? This is N5ED.
Yes, I do, Bill. Thank you so much. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen from Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we have continued the tradition of a constellation per week. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week is actually a twofer: Pisces the fish, or fishes, and Cetus the sea monster. And fish, or fishes, is the correct way of pronouncing, or I should say stating a plural of fish, yes. Oh, I'm on slide number 12, Mr. Slide Master. Still on slide number 12. The constellation of Pisces, the fish, or fishes, is based on a Roman myth about Venus and her son Cupid. Venus and Cupid are also known as Aphrodite and Eros in Greek mythology. In the story briefly retold by Jeffrey Cornelius in his book, The Star Lore Handbook, and I quote, Venus and Cupid were startled by the sea monster Typhon, but Venus knew that they could escape by water. She grabbed Cupid and they plunged into the sea, where they were both transformed to fish. To ensure that they would not lose each other, they tied themselves together with a cord. In the heavens, we see mother and son and the cord that binds them in love. Slide number 13, please. Aurisha, that's the name for the brightest star in Pisces, is Arabic for cord, which refers to the cord that ties the two fishes together. Aurisha is a binary star whose members shine at a magnitude of 4.2 and 5.2, with an orbital period of only about 730 years, which is kind of a short time compared to a lot of systems. The sun lies about 100 light years away. The double is a bit of a challenge to split, as the two stars are only about 1.8 arc seconds apart. That's pretty close together. The stars will continue to get closer to each other until around the year 2060, the time of periastron. Another star, Pisces 1, and I'm quoting from a Spectrum article. Spectrum is the newsletter for the Texas Astronomical Society. This star system is a simple pair of blue-white stars, both at about magnitude 5 or so. They're separated about 30 seconds of arc, making this an easily split pair for even the smallest telescope. And the third star I'd like to talk about is Zeta Piscium. Burnham's Celestial Handbook describes Zeta Piscium as the finest easy double star located virtually on the ecliptic. The earliest record of the binary nature was by William Herschel in 1781. It has shown no change in position of its two components since then, even though proper motion studies have shown the two stars to be a true physical pair. There is also some color contrast between the two stars. One star displays a lilac color, and the other a nice pale yellow. End quote. Slide number 14, please. M74 is the only Messier object in Pisces. M74 is a fine example of a large face-on spiral galaxy. However, it is often referred to as the most difficult of all the Messier objects to observe because of its low surface brightness, spread over a relatively large area of about 10 arc minutes. Stephen James Amir has nicknamed M74 the Phantom. It requires a dark, moonless sky to find because light pollution and moonlight completely overwhelm it. In addition to dark skies, good sky transparency helps immensely in finding M74 and trying to see any detail. Slide number 15, please. Some astronomy texts refer to Cetus, the sea monster, and others call it a whale. So we're on a different constellation now because we have two for now. Okay. Most of the mythological associations with Cetus as it is a sea monster, and is best known as a monster sent by Poseidon to devour Andromeda, who is chained to the rock by the sea as a punishment for her vanity of her mother, Cassiopeia. We've talked about this story before. Of course, the story has a happy ending. Andromeda is rescued by Perseus, flying on the back of Pegasus, the winged horse. However, we must make known that the constellation Cetus was known to be a Leviathan. or a sea monster by the ancient Chaldeans and Babylonians long before the time of the classic Greek myth. Slide number 16, please. Myra, or Omicron Ceti, which means wonderful, is the famous variable star and the first intrinsically variable star to be discovered. Astronomer David Prejuscus first noticed this from observations dating from 1596 and 1609, and its true character was ascertained by Warda of Holland in 1638, making the observations and brightness estimates of Myra the first established record of intrinsically variable star. Now, Algol and Perseus has been known as a variable star since ancient times because it's visible by the naked eye. But we know it is the result of an eclipsing binary system, two stars that are going in front of each other, and it's not a true variable star. Myra is the first true variable star to be recognized as such. Myra varies from a maximum of 3.4 to a minimum of 9.3, which goes from visible to not visible to the naked eye. Usually it has been seen to be brightened, sometimes more than 3.4 magnitude, and sometimes it gets slightly dimmer than 9.3, but 3.4 to 9.3 is its normal range. It has an average period of 331 days, but is subject to extreme irregularities. Sometimes it can go for several years below naked eye brightness. Myra is about 220 light years from our solar system, the type M star, or red in color. Myra is also a binary star system, with a faint bluish subdwarf companion that orbits around it. And this subdwarf itself is variable, changing from about 10th magnitude to 12th magnitude and back again over time. Menkar, which is Alpha Ceti, is depicted as a sea monster. If it's depicted as a sea monster instead of a whale, Menkar is always located on the monster's open jaws. In spite of this, the Arab name Menkar means the nose. Menkar is a red-orange star and shining at magnitude 2.5. It is about 150 light years away. Menkar forms a wide visual double with a 5th magnitude blue star, 93 Ceti, located 15 arc minutes north. The color contrast between the two is a beautiful sight in binoculars and low-powered telescope. Again, a bluish-colored secondary with a red-orange primary star. Kind of cool. Slide number 17, please. M77 is a spiral galaxy, otherwise known as NGC 1068. In Burnham's Celestial Handbook, it notes that it is a chief member of a small group of galaxies, including NGC 1055, 1073, 1087, and 1090, which would make an interesting group of targets for owners of large aperture, wide-field Dobsonian light buckets. Burnham also notes that M77 is an unusual system that contains 3 distinct sets of spiral arms. And one more object of the 2 constellations. This is slide number 18, please. NGC 246 is a planetary nebula, also known as the Skull Nebula. It is a fairly large and bright planetary, and Dave Hutchinson writes in the Spectrum newsletter that it can easily be spotted in an 8-inch mid-cast screen. Mr. Keppel and Mr. Sanders' notes in the book Night Sky Observer's Guide confirms this, and with much more detail, showing it in a 12 to 14-inch instrument. The nebula shines at a magnitude of 10.9, which is a bit over 10 arc minutes in diameter, and so it's definitely not in the class of those planetary nebulas that are so small they look like stars, and so you really crank up the power. So this one you can much more easily see than most planetary nebulas. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. There are more astronomical observing program objects in the constellation. In fact, I think there's nearly 100 other ones that we could talk about, and Pisces, the fish, or Cetus the sea monster. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 60 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. And slide number 20, please. That is Miss Carolyn's Constellation Week, which is Pisces the fish and Cetus the sea monster. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used tonight. I've also used some information occasionally from Constellation-Guide.com website for information. Next week, we'll take a look at two different constellations again, Fornax the Furnace and Eridanus the River. And let's take it back to Bill in 5BB. This is KF5JJ.
Thank you, Chad. Do we have any questions, comments, or additional check-ins? This is in 5BB. Skynet.
This is K5KOB Philip from Crandall, checking in on the air this time. Thank you.
Alpha Golf 5 Papa Charlie, checking in. Nothing to report, just enjoying listening to it. Back to net.
Very good, Philip. We got you at K5KOB. AJ5PC, I missed your name and location.
Alpha Golf 5 Papa Charlie, the handle is Al Alpha Lima. Mobile on 66, going through Rowlett. Back to net.
Very good, Al. Welcome to the net. We talk about astronomy and space stuff here. I also see KF5 PDS and WD5BPX and K5A&E all over on Echolink. Hello, Billy. Hello, Bobby. Hello, Kane. I guess they're mic shy. Okay. So, do we have any other check-ins? This is in 5BB, Skynet.
Good evening, Skynet. This is Kilo Bravo 3, Romeo Whiskey Tango, mobile and listening.
Jerry. Good evening to you. So, any other check-ins? Okay. Next, we've got lots of time, Tom, for space launches of the week. You want to discuss them? K5ICX and 5DB.
Bill, I'm only going to do one, and there's only one this week that I'm aware of, and then Miss Brenda has a little longer segment than normal, so I would say after this one, we'll finish up. Falcon 9, the TurkSat 5A, this will launch either on the 4th or 5th, which is what, day after tomorrow, from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Station. The SpaceX Falcon 9 launch will be the TurkSat 5A communication satellite, a Turkish satellite operator built by Airbus Defense and Space with significant Turkish contributions. The Turkish 5A satellite will provide KU-band television broadcasts over Turkey, the Middle East, Europe, Africa. This is delayed from November 30th of last year. Back to you, Bill. This is KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. Brenda, WB5OZL. Time for recent astronomical discoveries and the year 2020. Go right ahead in 5DB.
Thank Thanks, Bill. This article is entitled Primordial Black Holes and the Search for Dark Matter from the Multiverse. The Kavli Institute for the Physics and Mathematics of the Universe is home to many interdisciplinary projects which benefit from the synergy of a wide range of expertise available at the Institute. One such project is the study of black holes that could have formed in the early universe before stars and galaxies were born. Such primordial black holes would account for all or part of dark matter, be responsible for some of the observed gravitational waves signals, and seed supermassive black holes found in the center of our galaxy and other galaxies. They can also play a role in the synthesis of heavy elements when they collide with neutron stars and destroy them, releasing neutron-rich material. In particular, there is an exciting possibility that the mysterious dark matter, which accounts for most of the matter in the universe, is composed of primordial black holes. The 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to a theorist, Roger Penrose, and two astronomers, Reinhard Genzel and Andrea Ghez, for their discoveries that confirm the existence of black holes. Since black holes are known to exist in nature, they make a very appealing candidate for dark matter. Recent progress in fundamental theory, astrophysics, and astronomical observations in search of PBHs has been made by an international team of particle physicists, cosmologists, and astronomers, including Kavli IPMU members Alexander Kushenko, a bunch of names I can't pronounce, I'm sorry. To learn more about primordial black holes, the research team looked at the early universe for clues. The early universe was so dense that any positive density fluctuation of more than 50% would create a black hole. However, cosmological perturbations that seeded galaxies are known to be much smaller. Nevertheless, the number of processes in the early universe could have created the right conditions for the black holes to form. One exciting possibility is that primordial black holes could form from the baby universes created during inflation, a period of rapid expansion that is believed to be responsible for seeding the structures we observe today, such as galaxies and clusters of galaxies. During inflation, baby universes can branch off of our universe. A small baby or daughter universe would eventually collapse, but the large amount of energy released in the small volume causes a black hole to form. And even more peculiar fate awaits a bigger baby universe. If it is bigger than some critical size, Einstein's theory of gravity allows the baby universe to exist in a state that appears different to an observer on the inside and the outside. An internal observer sees it as an expanding universe, while an outside observer, such as us, sees it as a black hole. In either case, the big and the small baby universes are seen by us as primordial black holes, which conceal the underlying structure of multiple universes behind their event horizons. The event horizon is a boundary below which everything, even light, is trapped and cannot escape the black hole. In their paper, the team described a novel scenario for PBH formation and showed that the black holes from the multiverse scenario can be found using the subprime cam HSC of the 8.2 meter Subaru telescope, a gigantic digital camera, the management of which Kavli IPMU has played a critical role near the 4,200-meter summit of Mount Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Their work is an exciting extension of the HSC search of PBH that Masahiro Takada, a principal investigator at the Kavli IPMU, and his team are pursuing. Why was the HSC indispensable in this research? The HSC has a unique capability to image the entire Andromeda galaxy every few minutes. If a black hole passes through the line of sight to one of the stars, the black hole gravity bends the light rays and makes the star appear brighter than before for a short period of time. The duration of the star's brightening tells the astronomers the mass of the black hole. With HSC observations, one can simultaneously observe 100 million stars, casting a wide net for primordial black holes that may be crossing one of the lines of sight. The first HSC observations have already reported a very intriguing candidate event consistent with a PBH from the multiverse with a black hole mass comparable to the mass of the moon. Encouraged by this sign, guided by the new theoretical understanding, the team is conducting a new round of observations to extend the search and provide a definitive test of whether PBHs from the multiverse scenario can account for all dark matter. Okay, I wanted to do a segment on looking back at the year 2020 in space because it's one of the brightest things about 2020. A lot of good stuff happened and it's very exciting, so thought I wanted to cover that. However, it's a big subject. I just didn't have time to do the whole year, so I picked out about half of it, and perhaps in a future time we'll do the other half. So here are some of the high spots. We have Hubble's 30th anniversary. Hubble Space Telescope launched 30 years ago in April, forever changing the way we see the universe. Hubble has enabled astronomers around the world to study black holes, mysterious dark energy, distant galaxies, and galactic mergers. This vital research instrument has observed planets outside of our solar system where they form around stars and star formation and death, and it has looked across 97% of the universe, effectively peering back in time. Hubble teams in 2020 have continued to release new images and contribute to a wealth of discoveries. Hubble scientists believe that the telescope will keep operating through at least 2025, if not longer. And if you see the image, Hubble captured this giant red nebula and smaller blue neighbor nebula to celebrate its 30th anniversary in April. This is WB50ZL. Humans in space. This year marked 20 years of a What's more, astronauts even tested baking cookies and growing their own salad ingredients in space. Astronauts also learned more about how their bodies adapt to space. A suite of studies revealed some of the genetic changes astronauts experience during long-term spaceflight. A crew had to handle a blood clot in space, and NASA astronaut Christina Koch, set a new space flight record for women. Commercial cargo vehicles and crew transport provided by SpaceX are allowing more experiments and astronauts to travel to and from the space station, which means that even more scientific discovery is possible on the space station in the future. And the current crew recently received a VR camera and new toilet based on astronaut feedback. A long-lost comet, Comet Neowise, brought delight as it streaked across our skies. It's named after NASA's Near-Earth Object Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, otherwise known as the Neowise mission, which discovered in late March. By observing the comet, the researchers have about 3 miles in diameter, the average size for a comet with a long orbit, and it's incredibly bright, even even if it's not as spectacular as Comet Hale-Bopp as witnessed in 1997. After disappearing from view, the comet continued on its very long orbit to the edge of the solar system. This is why we won't see the comet again in our lifetimes. It takes thousands of years to travel the outer solar system before returning to the inner solar system. But scientists point out, this means the comet isn't exactly new, only new to us, because it previously passed through Earth's skies when humans were present about 6,800 years ago. Our peculiar neighbors, the Moon, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, all made news with new discoveries on each planet that are intriguing researchers. New research revealed there may be more water on the Moon than previously believed, including on its sunlit surface. This water could be used as a resource during upcoming missions like NASA's return of humans to the lunar surface through the Artemis program. The first results, returned by NASA's InSight lander, reveal that Mars is seismically active and experiences Marsquakes on a regular basis. Venus may have the ability to harbor life in its clouds. A gas on Earth is also detected in the atmosphere of Venus. The discovery of phosphine could hint at unknown processes occurring on Earth's twin. Phosphine suggests the presence of life on Earth. And the idea of aerial life in the clouds of Venus is intriguing. While it's not likely, researchers want to probe this idea more in the future. All right, there's just one more. Asteroid samples postmarked for Earth. In October, NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission briefly landed on the near-Earth asteroid Bennu and successfully collected a hefty sample from the asteroid surface that will be returned to Earth by 2023. It was the agency's first mission to land on an asteroid and collect a sample, and a spacecraft sent back some great images of the historic moment. Meanwhile, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency's Hayabusa 2 mission dropped off its sample collection capsule containing samples of the near-Earth asteroid Ryugu in December before moving on to visit more asteroids. The sample is some of the first subsurface material ever collected from an asteroid. The samples from both asteroids could tell us more about how the solar system formed and how elements like water were delivered to Earth early in its history. All right, I'm done. Back to net. WB50ZL.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Do we have any other check-ins or comments or questions? Then 5BB and Skynet. Do we have any quick astronomical questions? This is in 5BB with Skynet. Okay. It's time for the 73 round. Last chance. Any more comments, check-ins,
Normal state.
feedback, anything at all? This is in 5BB. Last chance for Skynet.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving checking in for the county.
Got you, Tom. Is anybody else out there? Very good. Well, we ended up with 39 check-ins. That is 2 more than TechNet tonight. So, thanks to everybody for participating. We hope you'll join us here next
I'm
week.
completely
and
operational,
every Saturday
and all
night
my circuits are
at 9
functioning
p.m.
perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Excuse me. We hope you join us here every week, every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net controls for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to be a net control, talk to a net control, or send an email to net@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and visual streams, etc., etc., by going to w5fc.org and looking for all the links over there to Skynet resources. Until next Saturday evening, this is N5BB. I'll be closing a net and returning the repeater to temporary normal amateur use until Afterglow starts. Tom, what's going on with Afterglow? Why don't you tell us what's coming up with Afterglow, what movie we're seeing, and when we'll start? N5BB clear.
Thank you, Bill, for doing a great net. This is KE5ICX. We'll be back in 300 seconds, 5 minutes from now. 5 minutes from now, where we'll be talking about the direct-to-video VHS, The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990. And it takes place in the future, 2022. So be back here in 5 minutes, and we'll start the net. This is KE5ICX. dokey. This is KE5ICX. My name's Tom, and I'll be your net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is a real winner. It takes place in the near future. The movie is The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990, but it takes place in 2022. Let me give you the plot and then tell you how this whole thing works. This is the plot. In the near future, a maintenance vehicle is orbiting the Earth on a mission to repair nuclear-armed satellites. Suddenly, the crew experiences an mysterious, inexplicable power failure that cannot be accounted for. As the ship grows colder, they find themselves drifting toward the dark side of the moon. An old NASA shuttle, the Discovery, drifts towards them. Although NASA has not been operating for 30 years, two of the crew members board the ship, hoping to salvage parts to repair their ship, but instead they find a dead body. The mission records of the ship's own crew indicate the shuttle they have found disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle many years before. The area in space the shuttle is found to correspond to the Earth-bound Bermuda Triangle. I think a triangle? It says triangle in here. I think they mean triangle. As they attempt to solve this mystery, it quickly becomes apparent that a malevolent force has been waiting on the NASA shuttle, using the aforesaid dead body as its host, and it now begins to stalk crew members one at a time. And as they fight the force, it becomes apparent they are facing the devil. This one says lowercase, I don't know. With time, air, and power running out, the captain decides to make the ultimate sacrifice. So, what we do, and what this group does, is we watch the movie. Now, how do you know about the movie ahead of time? Well, you can listen to the previous net. We'll tell you what next week's movie is. You can send an email to me, Tom, and my call sign is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray. That's KE5ICX at yahoo.com. Yeah, that's it. And you can get the email with the link and information on the movie so you can watch it at your leisure. You can also join the Facebook group, which is Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie. And just sign up, and we'll get you on the list, and the movies are listed there, including a couple of weeks into the future. Well, most of the time. Sometimes I forget, but you always get next week's movie ahead of time. So, there you have it. That's where you can find out about the movie. Now, what we do is we're going to talk about the plot first, followed by characterization, followed by probably special effects and anything else that we may have thought of or missed through the movie. So I'm going to take check-ins now. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign name. You can give me where you're transmitting from, but most importantly, did you see the movie? So I'll go ahead and take check-ins now. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and did you see the movie?
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I started to watch the movie, but I got busy with other things and was disappointed. So I'll probably go through the first round only.
November 5, Hotel, Yankee Papa. We saw the movie. It asks more questions than it answers. More later.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. I saw like 26 minutes of the film and just kind of got bored of it. So, hear more to listen to what everybody else says.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Name is Brenda. Yeah, I saw it to the bitter end, and emphasis on bitter. I want my money back.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, shot him forward. Yes, I saw the movie.
that. N5BB, Bill, yeah, he saw it begrudgingly. N5HYP, Tom and company, he did, and they saw the movie. KG5BZWJ, yes, he saw about 26 minutes of it. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, she saw it. And KB9SOK, he also saw the movie. Anyone else wants to check in? I'll include Echolink. Please come out.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, it was an accident, but I saw the movie.
All right, I actually had two in there. I got NT5TM, Tony, yes, he saw the movie, and then K5ANE, Kane, you were on there on Echolink. Did you also see the film?
Yes, I saw the movie. This is K5ANE.
Okie dokie. Anyone else like to check in? The movie we watched this week was The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990. Anyone else, please come now. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started then. We'll start with Bill, N5BB. Bill, your thoughts on the plot on this film for as long as you can hold out. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Well, it wasn't very long, Tom. This is N5BB. So, the whole attitude of the crew in the spacecraft was rotten and unprofessional, and they were smoking in a spacecraft. Now, I realize this was 1990, but still, smoking in a spacecraft? They had all this old rack-mounted equipment. It looked like the old leftover equipment from previous decades in racks. When things go bad, everything sparks in a very unreliable way. I mean, it's stupid. Nothing sparks like that, and they weren't very they weren't instantly concerned or something. I don't know. But nothing sparks like that. That was just goofy. They had a video from Earth that was black and white. You'd think that since the Apollo missions in the 60s, they would have come up with color TV for getting, for viewing the, videos from Earth. Anyway, I was ticked off by various things there in 5BB.
Now, Bill, scientific accuracy is not what we strive for in these films. Well, we hope we'll get it, but we never do. So we're just going to have to accept what cards were dealt. In this case, a couple of jokers. All right, next up is Tom and Company, N5HYP. Tom, your thoughts on the plot? Welcome back, by the way, from KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and the net, N5HYP. We got bored. We watched the movie. Oh my gosh. So many questions. Why was there gravity? Why was there gravity on a spaceship that shouldn't have any means of producing gravity? Why was the spaceship stuck on the backside of the moon? And the backside of the moon is not always dark. And the whole scenario of the Bermuda Triangle, which was the reason why the shuttle was there, and somehow along the line, Satan himself is involved with this, and it's just a bizarre construct. And why did they have to throw the central partial frontal nudity thing in there? That made no sense. I'm sure it's going to make a few of you want to actually watch it if you haven't, but please don't. Just run away as fast as you can. This is bad. This is N5H5B, back to net.
Well, Tom, you seem somewhat adamant that you want to help your fellow man here. I don't know. It just, well, all right. Next up is KG5BZWJ. You saw 26 minutes of the film and then did something else. I don't know what. Cut yourself, possibly. But what did you think about the plot to The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990 from KE5ICX?
Good evening, everybody. It's KG5BZW. Man, Bermuda Triangle, that was just silly. How is it supposed to correspond? How the moon goes around the Earth? It's around, like it makes a motion around. The gravity thing, why is the spacecraft getting cold? It's not like it's on the dark side of anything, because, you can see the moon. It's, generally speaking, if it's an object's not bigger than you can't really see it from the side like that, so, that means that, and, you can see all these other things. There's lighting and stuff. They supposedly, there's all this is filmed to make it look like it's dark or something. That just didn't make sense. Of course, the crew was just kind of stupid. And, I was just getting tired of this film. I don't know, man. KG5BZW.
Okay, I guess that's a thumbs down. Next up is Brenda, WD5OZL. Brenda, your thoughts on this film? I'm sure you have several good quality, high marks for the film in some way, shape, or form. You always do. You're very positive. From KE5I6.
W5OZL, how often have you heard me say, I hope everybody in this movie dies? Well, they did, and I was happy. Unfortunately, it took an hour and a half. Could they have not sped that up and made it like a 10-minute movie or something? I don't know. I didn't like any of the people, pretty much. I didn't like the story. I do remember when the shuttle Discovery disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, so that was very topical. I remember that event. Oh, and then at the end we had World War II planes stuck up on the moon calling Mayday. It's like, how stupid is this? But it was about the moon. That's the good part. It had spaceships and the moon. And what was cool was that giant pool in the bottom of the space shuttle. And of course, the artificial gravity on that space shuttle kept the water in place. The devil, we don't know where he came from. They never explained that, or what he was up to, or what his plans were. You'd think he'd have better powers and could have just come onto Earth and taken everything over. I don't know, why was he so limited to travel in a spaceship? Oh, let's see, what else? Didn't like the music. The special effects weren't too bad. You really kind of believed, well, we'll wait on special effects. Let's deal with plot. I'm probably going to need some more weapons or something to deal with this, to deal with the plot on this. I can't fully express how much I feel about this movie. I wore a bag over my head to watch it because I didn't want anybody to recognize me. And I started cutting myself about halfway through. So, other than that, it wasn't too bad. WV50ZO.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And you see, you did have something positive to say about the film. Next up is KV9SOK. That's over in Fort Worth. Sean, you saw the film. What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, the plot. There was one? Yeah, this one was pretty bad. I mean, just the whole concept, the whole Bermuda Triangle extending to the moon, and the devil, and yeah, this one was really, really, really out there. I'm pretty sure a 9-year-old must have wrote this just because of the crazy concept and the whole idea of the devil, and then the gratuitous nudity, and and then the AI that took up this huge section of the ship just for a robot to supposedly be the AI. That seemed kind of ridiculous as well. And yeah, just the whole thing was just massively off. As you said, I really trying to think of something about the plot that might be halfway positive, but just absolutely none of it made any sense. I'm not sure why all these movies that seem to be on the bad side of things always focus so much on smoking. It seems like over the last 5 or 6 months here that every bad movie we've seen has some reason focused on that. I'm just not sure if it's just all they had to do, because I'm pretty sure even in the 90s we knew the bad effects of smoking. So it seems a little odd. All the characters, just from they're definitely not what I consider to be a crew that you would send up into space and be reliable. None of the characters made sense. There was no real organization. Definitely wasn't at all military style. The way they acted and performed, all very poorly. I guess maybe that gets more into characterization. Maybe we should stay away from that until later. Man, I just can't think of anything good to say about this one. Even the shuttle wasn't even accurate with the innards when they were showing them moving around in there. It didn't even look like the shuttle. So, yeah, it seems like they've missed on almost every aspect of this movie. Well, really, that's all I got. Back to net control. This is KP9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. Another thumbs up for the film. Next is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts on the plot for The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990 from KE5ICX.
And while that would be a great summary of my thoughts, I will nevertheless talk for longer. On New Year's Eve, I had a fun Zoom call with some old friends from junior high, and we were watching videos that some of us made during our, various Board of Careers as independent filmmakers. And let me tell you, although the special effects were worse when we were in junior high, we would actually have to go pew, pew, pew when we shot each other with ray guns. The plots made more sense. Yes, if you look at enough random numbers, you will eventually find 3 6s. Oh, congratulations. The devil is lurking in any sort of arithmetic. And we all know that, I sure do like seeing attractive people in scanty clothes in movies, as it's one of the pleasures of movies. But when I saw that woman doing the partial nudity, my first thought was, oh, that poor woman, they made her take her shirt off for this. Oh, I hope the check cleared at least. The plot was just this horrible combination of different movies scratched together with some random, I don't know, numerology. Yes, we've all seen multiple versions of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and you know what? Some of them were pretty good. So don't try and do that. And at one point, the devil even says, go ahead and scream. It's space. No one can hear you. Because we've never heard of a movie where someone, pointed out in space, no one can hear you scream. If you've ever been to any of our space visitor centers on any of our places where they have a shuttle or even a shuttle simulator, you'll note that there's honestly just not a lot of room inside a space shuttle, at least not the inhabitable parts. So yes, there's lots of room for big heavy steel bulkheads and dangling chains, and yes, swimming pools full of salt water, as others have observed. No. And fire in spaceships. Yes, the smoking was bad, but bullets in thin aluminum hold airtight things. Not a winning combination if you like to breathe. So, I really got to vote with Brenda. I'm so glad everyone died. I only wish it happened faster. November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Thank you, Tony. Another illuminating analysis from you on another fine film. Next up is Kane, K5ANE. Kane, I know you have something positive to say about this movie's plot. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Definitely don't have anything positive to say about this. It's definitely quite a stinker. I don't know. Gosh, that whole Bermuda Triangle thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand what's going on with that at all. And yeah, just overall, terrible movie. So glad I'm not net control tonight. This is K5ANE, back to net.
That was very quick. Well, let's see here. Let's ask if there are any additional check-ins. Anyone who'd like to join us? We're talking about the movie The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990, a direct-to-video VHS. You remember that? Be Kind Rewind? Well, we got to see it in HD in all its glorious splendor over one of the streaming services. Maybe you did too. If you'd like to talk about the movie, or if you just want to check in to let us know you're out there, you can do that too. Please come with your call sign, name, and did you see this film? Please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James, Oklahoma. Checking in, I did not see the movie.
All right, I got KC5PMN over in Oklahoma at the border there. Anyone else who would like to check in, please come now with your call sign, name, and did you see this film? All right, well, then I'll give my comments on this one. James, if you've seen Alien, or you've seen, what is one of the other doppelganger-type evil films? Oh, if you've seen Jaws, Alien, I don't know. There's probably a few others in there that would tell you exactly how great this film was. If there was better story to be told with better acting and all that. So, well, my thoughts on the storyline, yeah, it was pretty bad. None of it made any sense. Everybody's touched upon all the things that I was going to say anyway. I too felt that this film was, well, it's supposed to be a horror story. The pacing on this thing was glacial, so slow, and people weren't dying fast enough, really, is what the bottom line was. Some of the things you saw, there'd be the light, and then it'd be dark. It's sort of like an LSD trip as the devil mesmerizes them into terror and submission to a certain extent. It had that, you know, that tension or supposed tension of the thing. I thought that overall it just did not work. Of course, the shuttle didn't look like a shuttle, and it was gigantic on the inside, and everybody has a saltwater pool in their space shuttle. Of course they do. That's all part of the fun. I think, too, that well, that's going into special effects, but I think the darkness was there to give it an alien feel, but more importantly, not to allow you not to see the sets. The idea of, you know, the devil being either an alien or the devil being perceived as an alien or whatever you want to describe it in movies is an old trope. Childhood's End, which was a Arthur C. Clarke story, used that same thing over a millennia almost, which was much more effective and more interesting in how it was revealed. So in this case, there was nothing even close to that in the storyline. So I don't know what else that I can say that would be positive about the film. It steals from all the other films, of course, and maybe that's the problem, is trying to pull something out that's new or unique. I won't do it. Normally I'll talk about plot and I'll talk about special effects, but I'm going to skewer the characters here in a minute myself. So I guess we'll go to the top of the list. Bill may or may not be there. He says he may be checking out, but we'll see. Bill, N5BB, do you have anything you want to say about characterization if you're still there? Come in, Bill, from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. In the limited amount I saw, I did not like it. They did look like a group of astronauts to me. And did I tell you? They were smoking in space. That's all I got, N5BB.
You just can't walk outside the airlock and do a smoke. They have to do it on the inside. Jeez, everybody knows that. Next up is Tom, N5HYP. Tom, your thought on characterization.
KE5ICX in the net. This is N5HYP. Cardboard. That's a good characterization. There really was no depth to any character here. I mean, you had, the only part was how they reacted to each other as they started to suspect each other for being, but I mean, names and such, you know, there wasn't anything like really memorable out of the characters. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how, you know, this thing could not have, if it sold any copies, it had to be only to video stores, and of course, this is why Blockbuster went out of business. Back to net from N5HYP.
All right, thank you, Tom. I think your theory may hold water. TG5BZWJ, your thought on characterization from KE5ICX.
KG5BZW. Well, yeah, not really much I can add to what's been said. The cheap AI I mean, cheap as in they used another actor. They wanted to, I don't know, that was different. It didn't really sit well with me, just the way, from what limited experience I had with that, because, well, you know, it's literally just a person sitting there talking and not really looking at you. Or whoever who was asking that questions. It was very strange, that character. I mean, there's the gal getting another gal, the human gal. Didn't really get much on her. But I was just thinking about, you know, the sexual harassment of her. Never really. That was just kind of like, wow, that they really wanted to add that to the film. I'm almost wondering about the time period, how. I mean, I know certain views might be different now, but still, that I just don't see. They're trying to make one guy a cool guy or something by doing that. Whatever. And I don't know, I kind of forget the rest, so, that's all I got. 85 BZW.
Okay, Jay. Yeah, I fully agree with you. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda, your comments on characterization. I know you've got something positive to say about the characters. You always do.
WB5OZL. Yes, I do. They had an attractive woman on there, and they didn't force her to make coffee or sandwiches. So I thought that was pretty good there. I guess they were all enlightened. Actually, the woman on there, I wasn't sure what she was or what she did, or they never really explained that. This movie was really good on not explaining things. We didn't know where they were going or what they were doing or who they were, or, you know, their relationships with each other weren't very well defined. There wasn't. Most of these have some kind of a interpersonal conflict between the crew members. We didn't have that. Somebody said use the word cardboard. That did exactly. There were cardboard cutouts. So I hope this isn't made off of a book. That would be sad, wouldn't it? Characters. Well, that blonde guy, he was kind of cute. Other than that, I don't know what to say. And both the women were attractive. Okay, so, yeah, they're actors. They're supposed to be. I don't know. I'm just coming up blank on characterization because it just wasn't anything there. All right, I'm done. WB5OZL.
Oh, I get a feeling we're going to be cutting out early today. We'll see. All right, I've got you checked off on that one. KB9SOK. Sean, now you may speak about the characters from KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Well, I guess the one positive that I thought of is, well, I guess you could technically say this is the best movie we've seen in 21, but it's also the worst. So, not really sure that's saying much. Yeah, these characters were, even to the point being so bad that I actually don't remember any of their names in the show. Normally I always remember the main characters' names, and I couldn't even tell you now a single name of the person of any of them. The characters, like everybody's already said, there was no character development. You knew nothing about the background of these people. And on top of that, I know it was a really bad script, but the acting was even worse than the script, I think. A few of these people I'd actually vaguely recognized from other bad movies, so if that says anything. Yeah, no, it's pretty rough. Yeah, I'd had to get really, if there's any real development at all, but there really wasn't in this one. You know, just once again, would you really trust this crew to go up and work on a nuclear satellite? I don't think so. I realize these weren't supposed to be NASA people, but they're supposed to at least be, I would assume, work for the military. And once again, it's just, there's no way they would have sent these people up. Yeah, I really don't have anything to add. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. And next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, tell us about the characterization in this film from KE5ICX.
Oh, I wish I could. I was particularly struck by the way their elderly and not particularly commanding commander liked to wear a scarf in space because spaceships have no climate control. That was a nice touch for helping to build his character. I'd like to give you more time to think of something to say because it's hard to be net control on Skynet. It's so late. But, cardboard is a useful material and it's recyclable. Yet, this whole movie was already recycled. I think we're not dealing with cardboard characters. We're dealing with mixed paper here. NT5TM.
Wow. Boy, what a merciless group. Okay, Tony. Next up, K5ANE. Kane, your thoughts on characterization. Don't tell me he fell asleep. He still looks like he's on Echolink over there. I'll try one more time. I'll come back to him. I'll put an asterisk by his name if he doesn't respond. K5ANE, what did you think of the characterization? I know you're dying to say something about it from KE5ICX. All right, he may have ran off or he fell down, which is possible, or fallen asleep. That's entirely possible. James, I know you didn't see the film, KG5PMN, but would you be willing to see it now that you know what the characters and the plot are all about from KE5ICX?
KG5PMN. Yeah, I might try to go back and watch it a little bit later on if I can remember. Try to catch it and try to catch next week's also. I got tied up doing other things tonight and had to wind up and skip my movie time. Back to the next KG5PMN.
All right, James. Well, you've been warned. You know, it's like don't smoke, but people like to smoke because they enjoy it. In this case, you've been warned not to watch a film because you won't enjoy it, but you'll watch it anyway. There's a name for that. But okay, my thought on characterizations. Well, let's see. We had the kid. I think that was Flynn, played by a guy named Robert Sampson. I think this is the only movie he did, and that's not much to say. He was being the cool guy, the sort of cool captain leader guy, but he really wasn't. He was sort of weird through the whole thing. I immediately recognized Joe Turkel in it. He's played Paxton. That was the guy he was constantly arguing with Flynn with. if you'll notice his very large glasses and the bifocals, you'll immediately recognize him as Tyrell from the Tyrell Corporation from Blade Runner. He was also the bartender in what was that movie? Oh, doggone, the horror story, The Shining. He was in The Shining as the bartender in the red jacket. And of all the people in the movie, he's probably the best actor through the whole thing. Unfortunately, that was his last film. This probably tore his career apart. He's now 94 years old and probably does not have a television set for fear that this might show up on TV and probably stick a nail in him. But he was okay. The doctor was sort of the plotting, confused doctor type, and when the gal went into this cardiac arrest thing, he just kept looking at the numbers on his TV screens. Well, what do I do now? I mean, she's having convulsions on the table, and everybody's looking around going, I don't know, you're the doctor. He goes, well, I don't know, I've got these screens, and I'm trying to adjust the horizontal hold. Nothing. He didn't have a stethoscope or anything. And finally he says, well, she's back to normal. And everybody goes, oh, okay, let's go up and have coffee. So they go up and have coffee. What the hell kind of crew is this? They have no idea what to do. They don't care about the gal. And then when they come back, she's dead. Surprise! What were you expecting would happen? The woman should be in intensive care. And she's in, she's in solitary. Strapped to a gurney, and nobody knows what to do with her because now her numbers are normal. Am I in a tirade? Yeah, maybe, because that was one of the stupidest things in the whole movie. The one gal, I think it was Kamala Moore, Leslie? Was it Leslie or was it Alex? Shoot. I can't remember. Maybe, no, I think it was Leslie. That's right, Camilla Moore. She is the human computer. The human computer, the one with the lipstick and the very seductive thing. That I think was a thing going back to Alien and before that Dark Star, both movies which we've reviewed, to keep the males in both the audience and on the ship entertained and engaged. But why the heck they keep her locked in the room there and that's all she does? Or does she? We don't know. Although I think there was some action there that transferred the devil from the astronaut into her. But it was just kind of plain old weirdo stuff. Did the doctor did that? Turkle. Flynn was okay. I guess the military type, he's just screaming and yelling, and they're screaming and yelling, and there's a lot of screaming and yelling through the thing. Yeah, okay, I agree. They were all cardboard characters. But they all died, which was really great. Best scene of the whole movie is when the whole thing exploded. Took the devil with him, too, who was also boring. For the devil, he was just the same old lines over and over again. It's like, he had this one-page script with glowing eyes, and he just kept talking and saying the same thing. You're all mine. Isn't it great? You're mine. But why? What on earth are you thinking? So, I don't know. This script was pretty bad, I agree. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to... let me see if anybody else would like to check in. Anybody else like to join us? We're talking about The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990, a movie, direct-to-video, behind rewind type film. Please come to your call.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec, Alpha.
Whiskey 5, Echo, Bravo, Bravo. Yes, I saw it.
Oh, wonderful. We got two more. We got an old-timer came back. Well, two old-timers. Let's see. We got N5SQA. That's Ron. Ron, have you seen The Dark Side of the Moon from 1990?
Well, of course not. But when I get out of the lab on Saturday nights, I always turn on the radio and like to hear the end of your net here, knowing absolutely nothing about what the film is, and just listen to the comments, and I'm entertained. Happy New Year, everybody. N5SQA.
Well, thank you, Ron, and I'm so happy that you feel that way about the film, about us, and the way we feel about the film, and that you're immensely entertained. But I also know that you roll the window down in the middle of winter, stick your head out, and drive with your head out the left-hand window. Maybe with your tongue out, I don't know, but which is equally as fun. But thanks for joining. Next up, I recognized W5EBB. David, welcome back. What did you think of the dark side of the moon from KE5ICX?
Well, why don't we just more correctly call it the other side of the moon? I mean, that's the side most of us don't see, and it's not always dark, but we've already covered that, I'm sure. This movie wasn't absolutely terrible, it was just terrible. So I give it like 1.1 stars maybe. And certainly you've probably already talked about, it's basically an Alien ripoff. But I could see a little bit of foreshadowing to a later movie 7 years later in 1997, Event Horizon, which was pretty good and very scary, very hellish. And, this one certainly had the Satan character in full force. Which, actually, incidentally, that's a very old story. You can go to the Quran and read about Iblis, and it's the same character. So he goes way back. Let me reset. Leslie was either the alien bishop character or the mother character, or some combination of both of those, perhaps. Now, Joe Turkel, I think, was the gem in this movie, if there is one. I think he used all of his best lines as Dr. Tyrell in Blade Runner, such as, the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, and would you like to be modified? But Joe Turkel, he's still quite lucid, or at least he was in some of the 2015 YouTube interviews I saw. He's a regular, apparently, at horror conventions, and kind of a hoot in his interviews. Kind of a very, very energetic person, even at his older age. But he was definitely a reproduction of the Tyrell character in this movie. But that was the part of the movie that I actually enjoyed. W5EBB.
Yeah, thank you, David, and I second your motion on that. I did not know about the YouTube interviews. I would like to know more about him. I always enjoy him. He plays, in the few characters I've seen him, he does kind of play the same character of sorts. I do believe he's as blind as a bat, because those bifocals he had, or trifocals he had in Blade Runner, made a repeat appearance as bifocals, at least, the oversized glasses in 1990 in this film, which I thought was kind of interesting. And so it probably is just, he's just nearsighted. But I think he was the best actor through the whole thing. Everybody else kind of walked through the roles. I think it's Alan Blumenfeld. This guy's gone on and done a lot of other things. I think he's the kind of the alternate romantic lead. Was that what it was? No, 1952. Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I can't remember exactly. But he's been in a ton of movies, from War Games to, a whole bunch of stuff. War Games, Friday the 13th, Tin Man, Inner Space, K9, Nightlife, Problem Child 2, yay, that's a winner. TV Set, Kurt's Brain. Some of these don't look like A-list films, but the guy's working. He's been in a bunch of television stuff, Murder One, Perry Mason from 1993, one of the movies, Hunter, Cheers, Family Ties, Different Strokes. He's done comedy, he's done drama, he's done, I don't know, I don't see any science fiction. Oh, science fiction Demas in Stargate Atlantis, so apparently he has something going for him as far as acting, but that did not show up in this. He played Dreyfus in this, in case you were wondering. So, all right. Anyone else want to check in before we go? Probably to our final round. This one's probably going to end early tonight, but anyone else want to check in? Just say you're out there. Please come with your call.
November Golf 5 Yankee, Allen in North Garland.
N5. Oh, Alan, is it GY? You dropped out. I should know your call. It's an easy call, and I'm just drawing a blank. And did you see the movie?
I saw the movie and I thought it was a great big turkey, NG5Y.
Oh, okay. That's why I got you. November Golf 5 Yankee. Okay. I should have known that. But thank you for checking in and braving the elements for us this evening. Okay. Well, let's see. I'll tell you what. I'll try a round of on special effects. This might be an interesting one because the ratings are rather different on special effects as opposed to everything else about the movie. So we'll do a special round on special effects. Starting at the top, Bill, if you're still there, go ahead with your comments. N5BB from KE5ICX. I figured he was gone. He said he was going to check out. N5HYP, Tom, special effects. Go ahead. Ooh, they're dropping like flies. Okay, KG5BZWJ, your thoughts on special effects?
This is KG5BZW. Don't really have much to say there. Although, really, the characters are kind of, I mean, not characters, the special effects that I did see weren't that bad. I mean, the spacecraft, you know, the tail end of the spacecraft going wherever, it looked kind of standard kind of stuff. I mean, not it's standard for the time. So you know, if you know meeting status quo is not bad, then that's not bad. Of course, there's the kind of ridiculous side of the space shuttle and all that on the inside. I guess we won't really go into that. The space shuttle, I don't know. I didn't really look that. It did look odd. It didn't really look like a space shuttle. It looked, I don't know. I almost thought they were going with some sort of alternate universe or brand kind of thing there, but whatever. It looked space shuttle-ish. I don't know. There you're set. I feel like there's something else I could probably... Oh, yeah, the standard score was kind of... I mean, it ended up being kind of a horror kind of thing. I did see that, and maybe if I'd been more interested, I would, you know... Just, it seems like the only pleasure a lot of people go out and watch this and that, you know... see these miserable characters suffer their fate. But, I Anyway, that was a little bit, what I did see, it was kind of just whatever, gore nonsense, really. Just kind of slimy and guts, and kind of guts, and it's like not really guts, like kind of gory stuff. I don't know. I've seen stuff like that on TV shows, even fairly like past decade. It was about that quality. What I've seen, what part of the film I saw. So not really much to say there. And that's all I got. KQ5BTW.
Good enough. Thank you, Jay. WD50ZL. This is Brenda. Special effects from KE5ICX.
WB50ZL. Well, it wasn't quite as good as 2001, but it wasn't too bad. It has spaceships in it. It occurred to me, I have met people who thought the shuttle went to the moon, and maybe the people that made this movie are among those people that they think it did. But I didn't understand why it wasn't there in the graveyard with the other planes at the end. I just didn't get that at all. And I don't know what to say. They sure saved money on lighting, didn't they? Didn't light anything up. I think that's just a budgetary strategy. Nobody can see the deficiencies in our sets. I will say they didn't have a lot of cheap out of the bells and whistles you see in a lot of spaceships. It's just random stuff they found down in the basement, and they hauled it up, and let's pretend this will go on a spaceship. They don't even know what it does. It's just laughable. At least we didn't have a whole lot of that. Okay, I'm done. WB50ZL.
Okay, if you say so. Next up, KB9SOK. Sean, special effects. Go ahead.
Yeah, the special effects, definitely weren't anything special. As it's been kind of pointed out, the whole sparks coming from the ceiling and the walls. At any one point in the scene, I think we could actually see the fake fuse and the little old detonator wire. So yeah, I mean that was a pretty bad scene as far as effects go. And it seems like a lot of these lower end budget movies love to use just sparks through the spaceships coming out from everywhere. So yeah, that wasn't particularly good. I don't even think the doors even looked all that real for the deadlocks and all that. And like you mentioned, Tom, I believe that the low lighting was very much intentional to cover up most of the set, because the set was very, very, very limited. We really only saw a couple of rooms. We saw the interior of the shuttle, a couple of spots there, which didn't look at all real. In the rest of the ship, we saw the medical room and the bridge, and then the computer room with the AI, and that's really about it. So they definitely kept their budget down by not really showing you a whole heck of a lot. I guess the gun kind of looked real. Yeah, the effects weren't that good. And then the whole, as far as, I don't know why the devil has to cut a triangle in you to enter your body, but apparently he does. And I really think that's just so they can do some gore to try to gain those viewers that enjoy that kind of thing. But it definitely didn't add anything to the movie, I don't think at all. I get the whole idea of the triangle because it's a triangle, Bermuda Triangle, but still, it still made no sense of why he had to do that center. I think it's just an opportunity for them to add something spec-wise, but yeah, like you said, the doctor had no real medical instruments. You know, they couldn't even afford a stethoscope for this guy, or, you know, a pin light, or, you know, to check the pupils, or, you know, that's pretty bad. And then the black and white monitor to communicate. You know, in the 90s, we had color monitors, so I'm not sure why they felt that would be something we would have in the future in 2022. So, yeah, I guess I'm not really saying nothing new at all, so I'll hand it back over to Net Control. This is KB9SOK.
Well, just remember, Blade Runner had cars from the 1950s, and it was supposed to be the year 2019. So that tells you something right there, too. Okay, let's see. That was Sean. Let's antagonize Tony. NT5TM. Tony, what did you think of the exceptional special effects in this film? Go ahead, from KE5ICX. Oh, I think we may have lost him. I'm crossing him off the list. They're dropping like flies. Kane, K5ANE, your thoughts on not characterization, special effects, and anything on characterization, or whatever you want to say. Go right ahead from KE5ICX.
I gotta say, gosh, that whole AI character is entirely worthless. But I do have to say, I think there was a little bit of a, thing about that. Wasn't the guy that was in charge of, working that AI, one of the guys from, what's it called? Oh my gosh, with Replicant, Blade Runner, right? Wasn't he one of the guys that was in charge of those? I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was the only interesting part of that character. As for the actual sci-fi things of it, I mean, yeah, the shuttle doesn't look like that at all. This is so weird. They're showing it as this huge space with tons of hallways, and it's if you've ever looked at the shuttle schematics, it's a giant cargo area with a little tiny capsule of space. I mean, it's not that huge inside, Go to Space Center Houston and take a look at it. It's really not that huge. You can walk through a model, shuttle compartment there, and it's, man, gosh, it's so ridiculous. Anyways, this is K5ANE, back to net.
Yeah, exactly right. Who you're thinking of is Joe Turkel, and he plays Tyrell, Dr. Tyrell, who is the guy that created the replicants in the first place, where Roy Batty went to be upgraded. All right, next is, let's see, James, I'll give you a chance to say something, KG5PMN. Do you like horror films, and do you like bad horror films? Because this was a bad horror film in space.
This is KG5PMN. No, Tom, I'm not a fan of bad horror films, really. It just never has been my thing. Kind of find that the older science fiction movies from the 50s, early 60s that we watched on here, some of them are actually kind of funny, but horror films, no, they're just not my thing, really. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
Okay, James, I'm not a big horror fan either. It just doesn't fall into that category. Now, I'll make exceptions with the far superior versions of this film, which is Alien, which came out in 79, so it had that as it, and then Aliens, which came out in, what, 85? Something like that. Those should have inspired something better than what we saw, but those two movies, James Cameron and the other guy, I'll think of his name, did a superb job. Two A-list directors, Ridley Scott, who did the original Alien. Both of those films were great. Now, the stuff that came later, not so great. That's what happens when you use the same material over and over again. But, you know, that whole candle thing falls into play. Okay, let's see. I do have Ron check. Yeah, Ron, honk your horn twice, and then speak into your radio if you have anything you want to comment about. N5SQA from KE5ICX.
Honk, honk. Keep up the good work, Tom. Like I said, I didn't watch the film. I don't even know the name of it, to be honest with you. But I enjoyed checking in late after I get out of the lab. N5SQA, Happy New Year.
I always wonder when you're getting out of the lab, what kind of a lab? No, never mind. I don't want to know. Next up is W5EBB. That's David. David, your comments on the SPX part of this movie. Please go ahead.
Well, in the opening scene, I knew I was in for trouble with this movie. You see the main spaceship pass overhead. Let's just call it the Nostromo. We hear the playback sound of an airliner flying overhead. Now, I haven't personally been to space, but rumor has it you're not supposed to be able to hear anything in space. I think I learned that from the Alien movie tagline, in space no one can hear you scream. I think that extends to spaceship engines also once they get up there. The costumes, I think they got most of their costumes from Army-Navy surplus, and maybe picked up a couple of cosmonaut suits on eBay, maybe. But yeah, the special effects, not so special. W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David. And I think the suits, those are shuttle-like suits that they had, that they showed, the egress suits with the backpacks. They weren't quite the A7L, but they were, because they had the lights on the side and all that, they were more like the shuttle suits. And you can buy those. You can, for a couple of grand or more, I think you have to pay for those darn things, but you can get the reproduction of those things if you want to. Or have your art department make it, since they're not spending any money on anything else in the film, maybe they got a couple of $1,000 to blow on spacesuits. Who knows? Alan, you're last on the list, but certainly not least. NG5Y. Any comments about special effects? That's different from characterization, bad stories, and bad lighting. But what do you say about SPX from KE5ICX?
Oh, I just thought it was funny that they thought that the shuttle would have 3 decks, and it would have a deck that could be completely filled with water, and salt water at that. Other than that, I don't have a lot to add. I thought it was a turkey of a movie, NG5Y.
Oh, I get a feeling you didn't like this film at all. This is, both times, this is the shortest comments you have ever made on any net. I just have a feeling that if we just kept tormenting you with sharp objects, you would say uncle and break out into a tirade and tell us all what you really thought of the film. I think you're just being nice, but that's me. Special effects. You know, for a crappy movie, and this one really is crappy, and it's low budget, it's direct-to-video and all that, the special effects probably were the best part of the whole film. I know it's a low bar, limbo bar type thing, but at the same time, I suspect their budget was not very large. I didn't look to see what it was, but I bet it was minuscule. Television series get more money than something like this. And it's amazing what you could do with rotating caution lights. But of course, they did that in Alien too. But they were everywhere, and they managed to provide some element of activity while the actors are busy boring each other to death about whether they should do something or not do something, and is this a good person or a bad person, and all of that. So that was an issue. I love the Atari computers that are guiding the spacecraft into docking and everything. Just really something, and the graphics with the 40-character column graphics. Wow, talk about low def. At least you can see it from across the room because the fonts are so gigantic. Let's see, what else could I say about it? Well, not a lot. The bridge thing, that just drives me nuts every time I see something like that. Even in 2001, it was a bit iffy, where you're going across and you're going into a vacuum. And the guy's trying to hang on, and he pulled the board, but he wasn't sucked out into space or anything because of the breach. It's okay. It's just wind. Oh, it gets cold. There's plenty of air. That air should have been gone in about a second. But no, it was a long time trying to pull him on board the spacecraft. Yay. What more could you do? So obviously none of these people know anything about either special effects or space or how to do those, marry the two things together. So with that, I have to say, Okay, any comments from anybody? Come with your call sign now.
November 5, India, Mike Sierra, and no, I did not see the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
All right, I'm going to sign in N5IMS as JJ. JJ, after whatever you've heard, would you go and watch this movie? Because I've got the link and I'll send it to you.
I thought you were my friend. Well, let's see. My comment is one that I think it was Brenda said, I don't remember exactly for sure, about the space shuttle making it to the moon, and nobody else would do that, although we know there were a few things. Well, remember, some major motion pictures have used the space shuttle going places where they wouldn't. For example, Airplane 2, the sequel. It not only went to the moon, it almost went to the sun. And with that, I'll give it back to you. This is N5IMS, 730.
Okay, JJ, I doubled with you a little bit, but I got the gist of the thing. Yeah, that's another thing, and by the way, there's another example of this. Everybody thinks the space shuttle can go anywhere, any place, whether it be Buck Rogers in the last TV show going 500 years into the future and going around the sun, to the latest For All Mankind, which is the alternate history of the space program in an alternate reality. There's a preview for it, and when it comes out, probably in the next month or two, it shows the shuttle orbiting the moon. That should be a good one. And some of the people working on that thing as technical advisors, I kind of know them, and they better fix this one, or else I'm not going to be their friends anymore. So there. Yeah, it's very interesting what they did, but space is only about 12 feet long and maybe 12 feet deep, because that's how big you need it for the models. The crappy models from AMT you put in the thing. Yeah, that's what you need. It's 12 by 12. Okay, Tony, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead. Your comments, anything you want from KE5I6.
Well, Tom, I apologize for dozing through my turn last round. That was my fault. I just wanted to thank you for putting up with this film and thank you for being net control through all our comments. I really have nothing to add except I'm glad I'll never be watching this again. NT5TM. Happy New Year.
Well, thank you, Tony, and Happy New Year to you. Brenda likes this film and, picked it out as she always does. I figure someday she'll get one that's good. Let me see here. So, next week, let me see. Ooh! Speaking of shuttles, I forgot we had this. Next week's movie, hopefully it's still up, is Moonraker, the James Bond movie, with the shuttles that are launched off of 747s and head into space. So that's next week's movie, Moonraker, 1977. Be there or be square. I saw this one when I was in New York, which was a lot of fun on a hot summer day. All right, that's it for me. Anybody have any comments? Come now. Otherwise, we're done for tonight. All right, I'm calling it done. Done. Happy New Year, everyone. We'll see you next week. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.